Welcome, Tessa.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Of course, I'm hyped. I'm hyped to be here. I'm very, very excited to connect today and give some value to everybody on the other side of the screen. Just give them some insights. We're going to be talking about some social media stuff, how to market yourself, how to grow your businesses, and just that's the oxygen of our businesses. To be able to market and all that stuff. So I'm really, really excited to dive into that and as well as your story and like how you got into this and the space and everything. So speaking of,
Yeah.
I would love for you to kind of
Yeah.
dive into that.
Yeah. For anyone listening too, my name is Tessa Seibel. I started in the social space a while ago. As a backstory, I started in college as a journalism major. So that's kind of where everything started rolling. I went to Mizzou and did some advertising, a little bit of marketing, social media marketing. I was always running accounts too, like on the side. I did some volunteering for social media account management, as well as photography and content creation. And again, that was all like volunteer, different organizations I was involved with in college. I was highly involved with the university. I bartended a little and worked at the bar as a social media consultant as well. So all of that was just for fun and for experience and for a little extra money in college. And then fast forward to about a year ago, so 3 years out of college, I was working in the corporate sales role. So I was doing tech sales. I was a BDR. And if you guys are familiar with that, it is a lot of cold calls, a lot of time on the phone, not as much social media creative as I was hoping. And so I was looking at, how can I turn back to my roots of the creative side? I liked the sales and I liked the competitiveness of that field, but I missed the creative energy that goes into, more of like content and journalism and writing and marketing. And so I actually ended up getting laid off in December. They shut down our entire office here in Austin, Texas. So moved out here for tech sales. They laid us off, and I was like, okay, I'm at a crossroads. Do I go straight back into that role as another BDR at another company and try to work my way up again? Or do I take this opportunity to turn it into something that I know I'm missing and I want to get back to? And so I kind of took a leap of faith about a year ago and decided to start my own business and, start almost freelancing, doing virtual assistant work specifically for the creative social media side of client needs. So I started working with clients one-on-one, originally doing just like, not even full management of social media. I was just doing like copywriting and like Canva creations and one-off things for different clients. And it slowly evolved into an actual social media management role where I was booked out pretty quick. I was booked out with 5 full-time clients within my first like 3 or 4 months of business. So it was all of a sudden ball rolling. Here we go. I'm thrown into being a full-time business owner and running social media accounts and learning all the tech side. So I know, Josh, we were talking about doing that or talking about this later
Mhm.
too, is the tech side of running a business and social media and marketing. So yeah. And from there, it's just really evolved. So it's been about a year that I did social media management and virtual assisting. And I actually had the opportunity to work for an author full time, which is how I ended up meeting you, Josh. We went to a really cool conference, the Maxwell Leadership Conference, if you guys are familiar with that. Um, and I was doing all of his marketing from like start to finish. Like he was brand new to the entrepreneurship world. He was a CEO. He was an amazing leader, and he needed some help with like that tech marketing side of getting his business off the ground. And so we kind of found each other at a perfect time because he needed somebody to do more of like that tech creative side, and and I needed somebody to help lead me into these crazy opportunities and really teach me just how to grow as a person and as a business owner. So that's kind of where me and him met. And I went on this crazy book tour across the country doing marketing full time for him and had actually offboarded my social media management clients. And then fast forward to now, here in January of 2024, in just a year, I went back to taking on clients and mixing that content creation and social media content creation side with the needs of what my clients were looking for. So I'm no longer managing socials, but now I'm actually going in person, creating the content, helping them strategize what to post, what they need to create a personal brand, and really trying to bring that to life for them through, consulting and also creation. That was a lot.
No, that's perfect though. I feel like it gives, everyone a grasp of like how vast your experience is. And that's something I wanted to highlight. Like your experience is very versatile. Like you have a lot of different insights, especially like being on a large book tour and everything and seeing like what it's like to book in person, content creation, potentially podcasts, whatever, and like managing that side and as well as helping someone grow their brand is beautiful. Cause I feel like a lot of people are quick to question if they want to go forward with like, a marketing manager or any of that because they're like, where's your experience? But like, I always say the best experience is being on field, like actually doing the thing. And like, you've seen multiple sides of social media, which is beautiful between photography, videography, podcasts, like in-person meetups. So like, I think that's a very unique, aspect about your journey and everything. And like, it's so awesome, and like, there's a lot of value in those insights, and I think, a lot of people, they are a little bit nervous to start on the social media marketing, but like, what's awesome, I know that you shared that you're now enabling people with the tools and you're kind of guiding them. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, especially as a business owner, like we're so protective of our baby, which is our business. Like we're very, very like, hey, like, we're almost apprehensive, but when there's so many studies and like nowadays, like it isn't just a billboard, like it's social media. Like this is how we can reach. And what I love, you and I actually spoke about this yesterday, it's a global reach. You're not only just like geographically locked, which is incredible,
100%. And that's like, I know we've talked about this a little bit too, but just the difference between, in the last like 10 years of how marketing has transitioned. And marketing is a very large and vague word when you break it down. There's so many different aspects. So when people ask what I do, I try to be specific and, really hone in on the content and social side, because marketing is huge. I mean, it spans across multiple industries, and it's a monster. So you got to be careful when, I can't just say I do marketing. Like that is a lot of people do marketing. And so really helping business owners define where their needs are for their business, and like helping them realize the power of social media is also something like you said, empowering. And that's where I transitioned this year, because last year I worked again as a manager. Like I managed social media accounts, which was an amazing experience. That's how I learned so much about the platforms as well, was working in them every single day. I was spending hours and hours and hours on Instagram, because that was my most needed platform that I was helping clients with. And it was just crazy seeing, in 1 year, the change of the algorithm. Number two, the amount that my clients wanted to be good at this, but they didn't have the time, or they wanted to learn, but they didn't know who to learn from. And like you said, that's kind of something that I'm trying to empower through the consulting side of my business, is trying to empower those clients to help them learn how to do this and help them learn why you need social media, why you need a personal brand. Even if you're a product, personal branding is huge in today's society. That's why we do podcasts. That's why we do stuff like this. It's because people want to hear the truth about the business and who that business owner is. And so part of my consulting that I do is helping to empower those business owners to learn why and how they can show up for themselves and for their business online.
No, I love that. And I want to highlight that you said the why. I feel like most people want to understand like, hey, like the why is like, I want to scale up my business, but I also want to build it like I would say a very positive and almost like genuine sense. Like I feel like back in the day, it was very difficult to actually make more of like quote unquote emotional, more of a personal connection to these businesses unless you knew the owner, unless like the owner was very prominent. Like let me paint an analogy. Like you go to a nice restaurant and then the owner's greeting people at the table. Well, essentially modern day now, that's us, showing up on, Instagram stories or a little bit more personal reels and showing kind of the behind the scenes of businesses. And people love it because like you're bringing them on the journey. They could see like how much heart and how much intention is behind, the product or behind, the business. And I think it's really, really awesome, like where we're at right now with the social media landscape. I would love to ask you, do you have any predictions as to like what social media could look like going forward, like at this current stage? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because even when I've also been in social media. So since Instagram came around, I've always been like my personal life. I've always had socials. I had Visco, I had TikTok, Instagram, all of since the beginning of or social media. I was in high school, I think, or maybe we were in middle school even when it first came out. And so I've literally had my own personal Instagram grow for the last 10 years. And my business one is new because I wanted to I wanted my algorithm to target specifically people that needed my help and that wanted to learn from me. So I do have two separate accounts, and that's also another topic we could talk about. But I think going forward, any business, you need to have social media. I know, just like with the boom of TikTok, I'm sure there will be another platform that comes out soon, actually, that will have a grip on us like this one does. I feel like the long form video, like everything is kind of transitioning back into that long form, which is really, really interesting. And you've seen on Instagram, even recently, which used to push only short form, they are pushing that long form now. They're pushing stuff like this. They're pushing that authenticity is key. TikTok is pushing 10-minute videos. YouTube is back to being very highly monetizational. That's not a word, but you get what I'm saying.
Being able to
Monetizable.
monetize. Yeah.
Monetize, highly monetize. And I think that's just because, again, we're as a society we see so much content all the time. We are endlessly scrolling when we drive, when we watch TV, when we're on I have four screens sitting right here, open. And it's crazy how much we can consume at one time. And I think we're starting to transition back into that. We want to actually learn. We're on social media to learn and to connect, not just to be sold and not just to swipe through and waste our time. Like, I genuinely think we're starting to need this as a form of connection again. Maybe post pandemic, that could have something to do with it as well. So that was kind of a roundabout answer, but I do think we're leaning, again, the number one key is authenticity and personal branding, because people want to live through and connect. That's truly the human connection piece that social media is going back to.
I completely agree. And I love like this prediction, and as well as like the current state of social media, the more long form, the more authenticity, because when you're in the confines of just a 30 to 60-second video, yes, people have done it, but like now there's less pressure and be like, hey, listen, like I can really, really showcase what is it that I'm actually talking about. And like also long form allows you to nurture the relationships with those potential clients or customers, or even if like you're just trying to grow a personal brand in general. Like this allows people to really like be brought into your world, and you can kind of just storytell. It gives you more of that creative freedom, which I think is super, super important. And I'm glad that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Instagram updated where it's like 3-minute videos. Maybe it's longer, but it's nice that we have the chance to do that. And I think it's super crucial for people to really start capitalizing on it. Cause I know even from me, like I've had moments where I even have felt like almost anxious to be like, hey, like I need to cut this down. Like, have I got my point across within this short amount of time? So I feel like this is going to give the chance to people that may have been apprehensive to join social media, or just, grow it in general, to be more inclined to share more. And like, you can even think like further back, that's why shows like How It Was Made was popular, because people will be like, they're so curious. Like, and I think
that's such a good point. That's exactly. People
it's
always
so
want
much
to
fun. It's cool. Like that's why people go on tours and stuff. Like they're like whatever. It's like a wine tour or whatever. Like they want to see like, how is this made? Like I think it's just our curiosity in that nature, and it's cool that now we get the chance to really show that, because I feel like sometimes businesses feel like, oh, like no one understands like what it takes to put out this product. Well, now you have the chance to share it. And like, if you're talking about something that genuinely means like the world to you, people sense it, and
Yes.
they're going to resonate with you more. And I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful,
That's like,
I
sorry, you go
no,
ahead.
no, you're good. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, I just think that's such a like the truest point is like people feel the energy, and like if you are truly a business owner that is passionate about what you do or your product, which I would say 95% of business owners are in business, this is not easy, like by any means. You know this as well. Like we all, if you are an entrepreneur listening to this too, you get this. Like it is mentally a grind. It is extremely exhausting, and it's you're in it alone a lot. And so like this isn't like this isn't the most fun path, the easiest path that you could choose, but it has such a high reward because you're so passionate about making that happen. And I think back to that authenticity key and the personal branding and businesses being scared to put themselves out there. It's like if you're scared to put yourself and your face on the internet, you have to realize like I don't really know where I was going with that, but you have to be able to do that in today's society because people crave that. They crave that desire like from you. Like that's why brands that do the best are because they truly are a strong brand. They're a brand first. They're not just trying to sell some get rich quick scheme. The truest long form brands, the McDonald's, the all of those brands that we've had around for years and years and years. They are great brands because they've, since the beginning, had a brand identity, and they've been able to show why they show up every day, why they talk to their consumer every day. They know exactly who they are, and they're able to show up on any platform as exactly who they are. And that's, as smaller brands, as new businesses trying to build an online presence, this is our way to do that now. Our way to do that is to show up as ourselves as business owners and talk about why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I definitely want to add upon this. I feel like the blessing of us having social media has actually kind of leveled the playing field. Like the barrier
Mm-hmm.
of entry, like we were mentioning,
Yep.
is now a lot easier. Like back in the day, you would have to pay, I mean, thousands of dollars for potential like marketing, like I said, billboards, things of that nature, and
Yeah.
ad in the paper for potentially no one to see it. Versus now, I mean, there's so many different platforms, which I advise like the more content that you could post on as many platforms, the more potential eyes will be on you. So like recently I had attended a social media marketing mastermind in person, and it was really great. One of the best insights that I gained is like, do not be afraid to repurpose content on other platforms because like everyone's algorithm is filled to the brim. So like if I didn't see your post on Instagram, I might catch it on TikTok or YouTube or something along those lines, right? So I know it may seem daunting and exhausting, but even if you have one piece of content, at least hey, I can still repurpose this. So kind of
Yeah.
alleviates some of that pressure of like, oh, I have to keep creating. It's like, hey, like still you can use, past content. It's, especially if it's a good client win, why not share that testimonial or share the behind the scenes? And, like we mentioned, people love that. And I think too, like, I would love to transition a little bit into AI. Can we, give everyone some tools?
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Sweet.
actually, quick thing on what you just said too, because that's it, that right there, like that statement is exactly why I do the consulting side of my business and why I try to help with social media strategy. Because two things. Number one, I think sometimes we get stuck in our own business so much because we're doing it every single day that we don't know what people don't know. We forget the basics that of our business, whatever service you provide, whatever company or product you have out there, you forget that the general population and your target audience might know nothing about this or like might need to be educated on that. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel with every single post. You can actually define those content pillars. If you've heard the word content pillars, like that's what I help people with in my strategy session, is defining those main topics that are going to help reach your target audience and educate them and help them be exposed to what you do and what you provide. And even if you repurpose it on all these different platforms and you talk about the same topic over and over and over, that's how you become an expert on that topic. And that's how you educate your audience into what they need to learn. And people, I think, get a little bit too, they forget, they don't know what they don't know. And like, I think that having an outside perspective, a consultant, a marketing agency, a social media manager, they get to see it from an outside perspective of your business and say, hey, these are what are the most important things that you need to be talking about. This is how we should go about that. Let me help you do that. So I think that's like a huge reason into why I went into consulting, is because a lot of people need an outside perspective on their business. I do, you do, everybody does, needs help, needs coaching. And yeah, number two, that repurposing content. There are so many tools, and we're so lucky with the vastness of the internet and the vastness of accelerating technology in today's world, that like there's just an unlimited amount of things that are constantly out there that we can utilize to help make our lives easier with an extremely low barrier of entry. Like we were saying, it doesn't cost thousands and thousands of dollars to start a business. If you want to grow and scale, it does cost that. But at the beginning, just getting your name out there, social media is free. Learning how to use tools, there's YouTube videos for that. So education, there's so much free educational content. There's so much free platforms that you can use. And I know if you want to transition to some that you've seen, I know like right now we're doing this podcast right here on Riverside, which is it AI? Yeah, an AI platform.
Yeah, there's AI built into it, but it's a very accessible platform to do podcasts like this. And like that's one thing that I enjoy with like the coaching and consulting industry, is the fact that we're here to not gatekeep, but actually share those tools to succeed. Because at the end of the day, like when you're in a philosophy of collaboration versus only competition, you have the ability to actually lift each other up. And I feel like there's been a lot of a culture shift of giving people those tools, because it's beautiful. It helps each other out. And you said YouTube. I always joke and call it YouTube University, because it's like literally it really is. And like you can dive in. And I think that's the beauty also of like giving value to your potential clients, prospects, or audience, right? It's like you're building a deeper rapport with them by enabling them with the tools. And not only is it just a good marketing thing, but that relationship built, people are more excited to work with you or shop with you because they understand that you're going to over deliver and give them a ton of value. And I think that's incredible. Even with this, like, and like, it's beautiful. There's so many avenues, like public speaking, content creation, whatever, but just use the resources, especially if you're starting off in the beginning. And I think like, I'm glad that we're talking about that, because I feel like there's a lot of anxiousness when starting a business. And yes, it could be almost information overload, but just start with the small things, like whether it's an app like this or YouTube, or, contacting someone like you or even me with like coaching, just like reaching out to those people that have the experience will save you time and a lot of pain points. Like, I think that's the beauty of getting that third person perspective, like you were mentioning. Like if we're just doing it alone, it also makes the journey feel alone. And I know you also touched upon that in the very beginning. It's like when you realize that there's a lot of, creatives, entrepreneurs, and people building that are also willing to help because they've been in your shoes in the beginning when when that uncertainty, or I don't know how to go about this. And the best thing, the best cheat code, the best whatever, is getting that competitive advantage now to tap into that information that someone has experienced, and I think that's beautiful.
I love, and something I absolutely love about this being a business owner in this generation, in this time of technology, is like exactly what you're saying, is there are people that want to help. Like it's about community these days. And like people, I think so many business owners, especially ones that maybe built businesses 10, 20 years ago, it was all about sales. Like I was thinking Wolf of Wall Street, like the quickest turnover, like it was aggressive, and like you had competition, right? Like everyone was competition. It wasn't about community. Not saying there wasn't, groups that you could join to collaborate, but I feel like nowadays, yes, it's about selling your offer over somebody that's exactly like you, but it's not about, it's almost more about getting people to align so much with your brand and align so much with you as a person, especially if you're a service provider. It's a little bit different with products, but especially as service providers, as you being a coach, me being a consultant, like, and a service provider, it's important to, you want people that want to work with you because they align with you and they align with who you are. And I think that goes back to, we are lucky to have an unlimited amount of space on the internet where we will find those people. We'll find that niche. There are other communities that are so specific to what you're doing that you can join those communities in an online space on Instagram. That's where I do it. All of my marketing is organic on Instagram. And I have joined and commented and asked questions and DM'd people that are way, way ahead of me in business. And honestly, they all respond, and because they want to help too. And I think that's so great about our generation in the online space and social media and business owners right now. Everybody wants to collaborate. Everybody wants to grow. And at the end of the day, it's almost not like you are competing for clients, or you're competing with yourself on, can you show up the best that you can to get the most aligned clients and grow your brand and scale your brand, I believe.
I completely agree. And I love this because, like, there's a lot of personal development that's actually involved with business owners, and as well as like social media and marketing, because one, you're showing up consistently. So that discipline, as well as like, you're coming from a place of wanting to serve and give value. And I think that's beautiful. There's been a lot of a culture shift of more of that collaboration nature, because when you live from a place of not scarcity, but more of abundance, and understand that there's so many different clients, there's so many prospects, and at the end of the day, they're going to shop with you because they resonate with you the most. And I think, like, understanding that there's going to be people that you're going to reach that I won't, and vice versa, but that's okay. And I'd rather much have somebody that's willing to grow or willing to like learn and like really invest in themselves, because, you know, that's what I'm here to help them do, you know, and that's a beautiful thing with the playing field being like leveled in that aspect, where it's not that let's, you know, yes, there's some level that you have to be somewhat aggressive and competitive, but it's mostly when you're using it to scale the business up in regards to like showing up and when you don't want to and things like that. But, you know, I like that more collaborative. We're here to give free value, and like, there's so much beauty in that. And like, a lot of the big people, like you can say like Gary Vee, it's like, it's the saying of like jab, jab, cross, which is value, value, offer. And like, when you have that offer, people are now not feeling like they're being BSly sold. Like, they don't feel like it's inauthentic. Like, they don't feel like it's disingenuous, that they feel like, hey, like, listen, this person has over delivered. Please take my card. Like, I now want to go even deeper because they consumed all or a good portion of your free content. And they're like, oh my goodness, like, I've learned so much. I can only imagine what's on the other side. And it's one thing I also want to encourage, you know, business owners, like, continue striving to make your business an experience for people, because when you do that, you're going to create raving fans. And you know what happens when you create raving fans? They tell everybody about you. Like, you go to your favorite coffee shop and you love it, and you tell everyone to go there. Like, same example. It's like, hey, like, why not? And when you're coming from that place of like genuinely like over delivering and pouring your heart out, that guilt that a lot of business owners feel of like, oh, I might be charging too much or this or that, a lot of that dissipates, because, you know, hey, like, I'm really here to serve, and yes, I'm getting paid in proportion of it, but look how much energy and look how much effort and look how much love got poured into this, you know, business or product. You know, it's a law of reciprocity. It's, you know, it's a beautiful law, you know.
And like, I would love to talk for a second too about, like, you are in the coaching space. You also have a coach. I'm in my second coaching program. When I started my business, I spent a lot of money going in. I had no money. I was laid off. I was straight up just I was grasping at straws. Like, am I really going to do this? Am I really about to start a business out of the blue? Like, with no prep. I wasn't like thinking about it for months. I was just like, I'm going to do this tomorrow. And obviously with that came wanting to pick a coach because I wanted help and I didn't want to do it alone. And this goes back to everything that we've talked about, authenticity. I would love to hear your perspective on why you chose the coach that you have currently, or any coaches you've had in the past.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking me. Really, I briefly touched upon it because I resonated with them the most. I mean,
Mhm.
of course, testimonials and the proof of like what they did
Yep.
for people. Yes, that gives them validity. But
Mhm.
like, I just resonated with their story, who they were as a person. And like,
Mhm.
before I invested a dime, like, I was consuming their content. I
Mhm.
saw friends of a friend that worked with them and how much they grew and how much they I they changed as a person because like they
Yep.
saw that their wins and like you saw them even carrying themselves a certain way because like the work that they did with this individual helped uncover that success in them. And yeah, it was just mostly consuming their content. And then at that point, that's when I chose to DM, one of my coaches and, join his community. And like I
Mhm.
happily did it. And I think also it was like the fact that I wanted to be in a community and like
Mhm.
that aspect of like, hey, like I'm on this entrepreneurship journey alone and I don't really have people to really kind of voice these very unique struggles of building this up. So it'd be interesting to like bounce off ideas and connect. And like, it wasn't just a coach, it was also a community that I felt like was super important to me. And I've been able to create lifelong friends and from that initial DM. So like I encourage people like even if you don't have the money right away, save the money, work for it. And I get it.
Mhm.
It's easier said than done, trust me. But you just mentioned you got laid off and I did as well. Like I
Yeah.
for a while was just freelancing, doing what I can to just make ends
Mhm.
meet to
Yep.
join this space, but I knew the value in it and how far it would take me after. And, I've been forever thankful because like it really changed me in a very positive light. A lot of
Mhm.
insights, a lot of tools. And yeah, I encourage and listen right now, if you're in the space that you can't connect or invest right away,
Mhm.
consume the content, get books. There's so many free resources. Like, I get it, information overload, but don't focus on that. Just focus on that one or two things that you need immediately and start acting. And I think like
Mhm.
that's the beauty in it. Whether it's shooting a DM or watching one of their videos, just take that one step,
Yeah.
and it'll change your trajectory.
Yeah, we got the opportunity, me and you, to see James Clear Atomic Habits in person, which was really cool. And I got the book from that event that we went to. And if you guys haven't read Atomic Habits, it's a great book. It's about that one step that you just said. It's about the one step at a time. If you like when you overconsume, I just actually this is in my I've email going out today about over consuming versus creating. And if you are over consuming and you feel overwhelmed, if you're an early stage business owner, or if you're just looking to get into being a business owner, or if you're just looking to get into social media for the first time and you're like, there's where do I start? Just start somewhere. Take one Find one creator that you really like and take whatever, like follow them, learn from their advice, consume as much as you comfortably can without feeling overwhelmed. Because the minute you start to feel overwhelmed in consumption, that's where you know nothing's going to come from that. You are no longer in a state of being able to create. I was just in this a few months ago. I was so stuck in having a million ideas that I didn't make one of them come true. Not one thing from my brain ended up on a video in content or in, like written down because I was so overwhelmed. So the minute you feel overwhelmed when you're over consuming, take a step back. But just remember that like everyone starts somewhere on the internet. So just try something. Put yourself out there one day at a time, one little post at a time. And day after day, you'll start to get really comfortable. And you'll learn through analytics as well. That's the other great thing about marketing and social media is like everything comes with a boatload of analytics on their platform. So you can actually watch that and learn from your own failures and your own bad content. That's okay. I put out bad content still randomly. I'm like, oops, that one didn't work at all. We'll just move on to something else. So I think back to the James Clear is just taking that one little thing at a time. If you change one little part of your day every day and you start to stick to a routine, what in the marketing space, in the business space, you'll start to see a change over time. It might not be tomorrow or next month. You might not blow up on TikTok. Get that out of your head. You can't blow up on TikTok the first day. Some people do, but a lot of people it takes posting over and over and staying consistent and having those habits of showing up for yourself and for your business.
I love that. I'm glad that you said, hey, like kind of taking this, I would say like the, not magic, but like the spell of like, hey, like I might just blow up in one video.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you won't, but
Yeah.
more likely if you keep showing up, keep posting, inevitably something will blow up. But it's
Mm-hmm.
that fact that you just have to keep showing up and take that initial step. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
actually told this to a coaching client yesterday. It was like, hey, like, he was like, oh, like, you know, there was some apprehension with him posting on social media. I'm like, I was like, my friend, the only way to actually blow up is to post the video. And he was just
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, I know it sounds oversimplistic, but
Yeah.
it's like, you got to do it. And if it isn't just social media, then create a page for it, whether it's a YouTube channel or that Instagram handle, and start. And even as simple as like getting a nice photo, nice banner, put the description, really just put the effort, especially when
Mm-hmm.
you're in a state of like overwhelmed and like you're like, hey, I don't know where to start. It's the little steps because they compound. And like
Yep.
when you're ready to post and show up, you're like, oh wow, like I'm glad I took the time to make my channel look nice. I'm glad I
Mm-hmm.
took the time to really be thoughtful and consume content that will actually help me show up. And now like I have the tools. And then you start building that they call it the winner effect, where it's like you start building that confidence in yourself and say, hey, like I actually kept my word to myself, and as well as my clients, I'm going to keep going. And it
Yep.
builds that momentum. But in order to build that momentum, you have to do that one step.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, don't sweat it. The small steps definitely count and they 100% compound. And I think that's something really important. You know, I just wanted to highlight because it's like people are stuck in planning purgatory, as I like to call
Yep.
it, where they're just stuck. And you're like, listen, like I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do it. Oh, but like AI now, the changing landscape. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, like everything is unpredictable. You just got to start. And
Yeah.
like as you're going is when you can refine. If you want to
Yeah.
launch a website for your business, just build it now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to look 1,000% perfect, or it might look perfect now. And in 6 months from now, you're going to want to change it, but that's okay. You just
Right.
got to launch the product. You got to post the video, hit record, post, and start.
Nobody
And
can buy or hire if they don't know that you're there. Like if you're
correct.
not selling anything, nobody can buy anything from you. And that's like,
Mm.
I think in my last year of business, I've, you could chalk up my entire last year of business to failures. Like it was a great success. I have wonderful feedback from clients. I helped a lot of amazing businesses. But if you look at my own business, like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. If you look at my first videos that I made on social media, they're so embarrassing. And like me talking into my camera, I do a lot of stuff nurturing my clients on my stories. Um, and again, just showing them who I am every day and like building behind the scenes. Like today I got a new mic. I got this. Like, hey, look at my new this, look at my new that. Like, this is what it's like to own a business. These are the cool things that I get to do, but these are also the really hard times that I go through. And so building that loyal following and just realizing that like it's okay to share things that aren't great also, and you'll just learn as you go. I did so many failures last year. It's actually insane. There were so many times I was breaking down, just like crying, just being like, what am I doing with my life? This is crazy. And I'm putting it out on the internet. This is scary. This is overwhelming. Like, who's judging me? Who's going to buy from me? What if I put something out there and nobody does it? But that goes back to like why we hire coaches too. Full circle there. But like, why I hired a coach and why I wanted to be part of a community. I'm part of a community now, and I was part of one when I first started my business of other female entrepreneurs that are learning marketing and learning to put themselves out on the internet is because you now a year in, I can look back and see, oh, okay, this didn't work, but look at how much I've learned. Look at every one of those like one step at a time things that at the time I was like, I shouldn't post this, but I did. And from that, now I'm here, now I'm here. And next year, if I post a podcast, join more different things, try different things that I wouldn't normally do. I'm going to host a webinar soon. And that's the first time I've done that. Like, that's a step I've never taken. Will it be good? I don't know yet. Like the information will be great, but will anyone show up? I don't know. But that's okay. Cause like, if they don't, who cares? I'll just do it again, And that's what social media is it's a learning process and it's a growing experience.
Thank you for sharing, because like you can literally feel like just the love, the struggle, all of that off you. Like, hey, like I experienced that. And like
Mm-hmm.
people need to hear that, because like there's, like you said, they're so fearful. They're like, oh my goodness, like they're, whether it's the fear of embarrassment or really it stems down to almost a fear of rejection or unworthiness. But like everybody's going to experience that in the beginning. And
Yeah.
when you have a people, like a community or a space where you can feel backed up, it is so important, especially in the very beginning, because like you're gonna be misunderstood. Because like one thing
Mm-hmm.
I love that I was so happy I recently heard, um, yes, your idea might not be 100% original. There's 1,001 coaches and photographers and all of that. That's
Yeah.
great, but no one has done it like you, and no one has your story, no one has the experiences that you have. And
Mm-hmm.
like, even through the hardships, people can resonate because they feel it off you. And like right now when
Mm-hmm.
you were sharing, I couldn't help but smile. I even got emotional for a moment because I felt like, even like in my moments of like, oh God, what am I doing? Like, I don't know how I'm going to make this work. How am I going to like stretch this X amount of dollars to just make it work? But like people feel it and they know like you're telling the truth, because like you're
Yeah.
documenting it. And yeah, listen, like I encourage people, do it. Share your experiences, because you
Mm-hmm.
do not know who you're gonna reach. You will
Yeah.
not know who's gonna DM you like, hey, like I totally feel you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Like I was so scared to post my first video on Instagram recently with like coaching and being so expressive and so vulnerable. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, who's going to listen to this? Like, who's even going to care? Like, whatever. And surprisingly, the amount of messages that I got, I was so blown away, but I would have never known. And some
Yeah.
people really was like, you don't understand that I needed to hear this. Like, I was really experiencing some hardships. And yeah, just now that in my heart of hearts, like, even if it's that one person, then that one person, I'm going to talk to them with every single ounce of me, and I'm there to serve them. And
Yeah.
majority of business owners, they're here to serve a need, here to sell a product. So like think
Yeah.
about that one person, like give them your all, even if
Right.
it's one or five, whatever. The numbers don't matter right now. It's about connecting with that person. And once again,
Yeah.
building that relationship. You create fans. And I'm not saying it in any weird way, but it's like
Yeah.
you create like relationships with people that genuinely care about you and your business. And like that
Yeah.
one person is going to lead to 5, 10, 100, whatever you want to scale it up to, because the internet, no ceiling, glass
Right.
ceiling no longer exists. So,
Yeah.
but you got to do it. You
And that's,
have to.
I was to say, that's like beautiful too. Like, and I think me and you, we've obviously talked about this before too. We're at a really unique stage in our businesses because we're not beginners
Mm-mm.
anymore. We've been doing the grind for a little while, but we're also not at that crazy multi-million dollar. Like I'm still trying to make ends meet at the end of the day, and like still trying to figure out the best way. And I'm always coming up with new products and services because I want to make sure that like, oh, okay, I'm seeing an influx of these 3 people reaching out to me needing this. I would love to provide them with this. Here's a new service.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're at a really unique stage because we are truly here, still learning, still in our coaching courses, like still being super like being able to be so authentic and like real and just both of us, like we're just putting out content and putting ourselves out there. And I just want to say like that's really cool. I'm glad that like we've just been able to connect in this last few weeks, really reconnect in the last few weeks and be able to talk about this stuff, because as a lot of business owners know, it's hard to find somebody in any stage of business that you're at. It's tough sometimes to find people that are at your level, really, because it's so fun to surround yourself with people that have made it and that are doing so well, but that makes you feel sometimes like I'm not good enough. I don't know where to start. I'm over consuming. I'm not creating. I'm not good enough. Like I don't have 100 clients or $20,000 months. I don't have that yet. And I think at the end of the day, that's okay. Like as long as you're still true to your brand and like you see the end goal and you're willing to work for that and you're willing to show up online for your business, like the people will come, the money will come. It just you gotta be prepared to put yourself out there for it, really.
No, 100%. And I just want to say I appreciate you for being so receptive, and like I'm glad we got to connect. And even like this, like you know, if we didn't meet up or didn't conversate, this would have not happened. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of time. I know that this is going to resonate with people because it's coming from the heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like we're just here. We're here to serve. We're here to help. And like that's also one thing too that I'm glad that I've been reprogramming my mind to say, hey, like
Mm-hmm.
as a business owner, as someone that's pouring their heart and soul into, the services that I'm providing, like it would be a disservice for me not to share everything that
Yeah,
I've invested and everything I've learned, because there's insights from not only just my experiences, but people that have made it on the other side that have shared with me that I know are true, that I need to
yeah,
share, with you guys and with everybody, and say, hey, like, listen, I get it, but once again, it'd be a disservice to both of us if I was not putting out the content or the products. And like, I encourage people just do it because, like I said, you never know what person
yeah.
needs that piece of information.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that goes to show like we're true like service providers too, because like I don't know if you do this, but like whenever my friends, a lot of my friends are still in corporate, not still, but like they're doing their corporate route, they don't understand what I do, and they're like, "You're always just talking on your phone, like literally you're talking." Yeah, I know. But it's so funny because I like I anything they say, I'm like, we could turn that into a business. Like,
Mhm.
let me make an Instagram account for you. Let me start marketing, like whatever idea they have, or some little like, my one of my friends is a amazing graphic designer. I'm like, let me start selling this for you. Like, please let me like take over because I want you to blow up so bad. Like, I want to run your social media because I you have the potential to make money off of this and sell what you love to do. And they're like, no, dude, I'm just doing this for fun. Like, can you? Not everything has to be a business, Tessa. I'm like, sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to like recruit people over and
it's
help
it,
them.
it's in our DNA. We want to help, and I think that's beautiful though. At least
Yeah.
like even in that, in our interpersonal relationships, we're still showing up in that light. We're trying to help,
Mm-hmm.
and like I would love to add upon that. One of my best friends back home, he was like, dude, I love like the posts that you're doing, like on Instagram, like with the
Yeah.
photo dumps, like they feel like you. Like when I see it, like I know it's not disingenuous. That's Josh. And I'm like one, I was like, I'm so appreciative. Like I'm glad that you're feeling that. And
Yeah.
because he took it upon himself. I didn't incite this conversation, but he's like what's the brand, or like what's like your thought process with posting? And I'm like, honestly, I just got tired of trying to be someone that I wasn't, trying to compete or compare. And I'm like, I'm just here to share like literally what my experience is. And I have a background in photo and video, but I'm like
Mm-hmm.
taking that storytelling aspect and embodying that in my
Right.
daily life, like is part of my brand now, is part of my coaching, is part of another thing that I can give to clients and say, hey, like if you don't feel like you're showing up authentically, let's kind of dissect like what is it you're trying to actually share?
Mm-hmm.
What is it when someone sees your post? Like what are you trying to evoke? Is there a certain emotion? Are you asking a
Right.
question? Are you selling? Like there's a lot of thought process behind it. And it's not to overwhelm, but it's also to share, hey, like it is really thoughtful. It
Yeah.
is coming from a place of like, hey, like this is, you can be curated and authentic at the same time. Just be
Absolutely.
thoughtful as to like what you want to express. And yeah, I'm
My
gonna do that too
in there.
because it's awesome. You can come from a place of like, hey, like I'm sharing my experiences, but you're still showing up as yourself, and
Yeah.
that you can think of any brand, like they have a certain DNA, certain color palette they use, maybe a certain font. And I think that's beautiful to embed that even in personal branding or business
Right.
branding, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I always love, you earlier we're talking about like McDonald's and like some of the big corporations, but I love
Yeah.
to kind of highlight some other brands as to why they were successful. Apple, because of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was
Right.
considered a genius. He was, go getter. Nike had Michael Jordan. People wanted to be like Mike, wanted to, emulate that.
Yeah.
And when you have these figures just being themselves, they can help sell the brand because it's them. And even like recent would be like Tesla. Well, people resonate with Elon Musk and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like it's just like, hey, like it's why people buy into it. People love storytelling. And don't
Cool.
overcomplicate it. Just show up as yourself, showcase the brand, showcase what it's about, and like really think like, I don't know, like what colors resonate with you? Like, what are your favorite colors? What are
Yeah.
certain like music type that you like to use. So like whether you're posting a story or a reel, like people
Yeah.
would know you from that if you're showing up like
Right.
that.
That's really interesting too, is like the transition of there's a couple things in that, but the branding piece is one, like definitely like the action physical branding evoking emotions, like that's absolutely a thing. Number two, storytelling. So true. Like if you go back to like the primitive human race, like I don't know if that's what that's called, but like literally we had storytelling and connection. And like that's still to this day what people need. And I think we are lucky that we have a way of doing it on an internet where me and you can be sitting in different rooms and still be having the storytelling aspect and the connection and communication aspect that humans need. And I think showing up on social media is just that. Like if you can master the art of being authentic and connecting with people authentically while also telling your story in a way that sells, that right there is like all social media is how you're going to sell your product and your service on social media, like truly, because people want to connect and they want to hear your story.
Absolutely. Like you're mentioning, it's like humans, I'm saying this respectfully with as much love, we are prehistoric. Like there's some things are deeply embedded in us where like we like storytelling, we like human connection. So like even like I recommend, and it's something I'm constantly doing, so I'm living this as well,
Yeah.
studying like human psychology and like the philosophy of branding, because once you understand, you can, really really connect with your audience and
Yeah.
create more compelling, more emotional evoking things. I would love to highlight, there's a book called Influence. I'm going to botch the author's name, so just look up Influence. His first name's Robert, and that book will break down the psychology of selling and why brands do a certain thing. And when you enable yourself with those tools, you're like, oh my goodness. Now you start really being conscious, like I mentioned, like colors, like a certain music, like style
Right.
that you use. Like, for example, there's a bar in Austin called the Sign Bar. It is so
Yeah.
cool. But what makes that place unique is, I guess one person was like, these signs are cool, and they just literally put it everywhere. But when you start noticing, like it's like the art of noticing, like things that really resonate with you that are cool and unique. That's
Yeah.
when you can really pour it into the brand and the DNA,
Yeah.
and like a lot of it does spawn from personal preferences, like
I
and
actually I think that's actually one of the number one things about marketing. Like if you're just starting to get into marketing in general, I know again that's a broad term, but like if you're trying to build a brand and you're not quite sure how to show up on social media for your brand or for your service, like notice what you like and notice when you're scrolling. That's the part, this right here is where people get stuck in the over consuming and under creating, is when you're scrolling and you see ads, you see brands that you love, you go creep on them, you want to buy their stuff. Why what right there made you, in psychology, what made you stop and look at that brand? Is it their energy? Is it like the music they're using? Is it their hooks? Are they really good at hooking you on videos? And like what are they saying to make you intrigued? Is it their beautiful branding? Is it their colors? Is it their storytelling? Like what, when you find a brand that you love, why? Like you have to ask yourself, and what did that one specific piece of content, this is where I was in college and I was a journalism advertising major. We used to have to dissect backwards. We would see an advertisement and we would have to literally deconstruct that advertisement and say why did they come up with that? What was their original like point of that advertisement? And still to this day, when I see ads, I immediately go, "Huh, I know who they were targeting and I know why." Because I'm sitting there dissecting it all the time. And so that is, if you can start looking at consumption as research and then taking that research, you have to put action to it, right? Like that's where people get stuck. They're consuming, they're like, oh, this is so great, I wish I could do this, I love this brand, I want to be just like them, but like too much work, I don't even know where to start. You can take that and say, hey, how are they doing this? What's the strategy behind this? And then turn it into action of, I'm going to do this for my brand, and here's where my brand can capitalize on that idea and turn it into real content for other people to consume and learn from.
No, 100%. I mean, success leaves clues. I mean, it's an old saying, but it's true. It's like
Mm-hmm.
literally, I actually challenge myself every time I'm listening to podcasts or like influential people are talking. If they
Mm-hmm.
reference something quick, I'm like, that's the thing I need to pay attention to. Like
Yeah.
whether it's like a book or a quick platform and like they don't
Mm-hmm.
highlight super, I'm like, hold up, let's rewind. I was like, what was that one thing? Like you
Yep.
start being really conscious and you're more receptive to notice things. And that's something too, like we were mentioning almost like business burnout or like whatever. I heard on a podcast with Bezos, he always wanders. Like
Yeah.
literally it's built into his routine to wander. And I've spoke about this before, but I'm gonna drive it home. It's like give yourself also the chance to like kind of get in, strengthen that muscle of noticing and like taking
Mm-hmm.
things in, change the scenery, change like your state. Cause a
Yeah.
lot of business too is also state management, is like how am I showing up like in the business? Like, am I overly flustered? Am I coming across this way?
Yep.
And you kind of have to look inwards. And then from that place of, okay, I changed my state. Now I can share the problem that I just resolved with my audience because it's coming from a place of understanding
Yeah.
what just happened. And we are us, are our first client always. Like it's one of
Yeah.
those things like what would I consume? What is something that can resonate? And also when you're thinking from that place, okay, cool. Like now there's some sense of clarity. Sure, not everyone's gonna have the same taste, and that's perfectly fine. But it's a good baseline to be like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
like this resonated. Like you said, I stopped on a particular brand. Why? Like
Mm-hmm.
what was it that they did that captivated my attention? And then
Yeah.
when you do that, people that are like minded will start noticing similar to you. And then, of course, with analytics and insights, luckily
Yeah.
we have that on social media, you can tweak. But,
Yeah.
like, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's go back to like the baseline instincts of like noticing certain things. And then, like you said, dissecting. And then that almost gives you a very clear game plan of like where to start and
Yeah.
where to start, like really building upon.
Well, and I think too, people ask me all the time, like I do content creation, I post all the time. I obviously help clients post as well. Like when I was managing, I was having to come up with new content ideas all the time. I mean, like literally daily. And people always ask me, where are you getting these ideas from? I just can't think of anything to create. And I'm like, everywhere. Like literally anything can be content. I will like hear something like outside somebody talking and I'm like, "Huh, I have some thoughts on that." Like it's really just like you said, it's noticing, but it's being able to notice, think, and then take action on those thoughts and create something out of it. And I think when as a creative as well, like it's you have to be constantly in the energy of not consuming but creating. And there's a way to balance it. So I love everything. Like right now I have 100,000 million different content pieces I could make from just this video and us talking and all the ideas that have come to my head. So just like getting out and again connecting with people and look for content. It's everywhere. Be inspired. Go outside. I don't know. Put your phone down. Go outside. Like get off social media. I'm just kidding. So,
No, but there is some level of that. Like sometimes you have to disconnect to reconnect, and I think that's like
mhm.
something that's so important. But at the same time, too, like when you ever feel stuck, like especially recording yourself, I know it's an uncomfortable thing. It's
Yeah.
something you grow into. Trust me, I'm literally here talking to you on a podcast. I started creating content in 2017. Scared little kid, did not know what I was doing. Perfectly
Mhm.
okay, but it's taking that leap of faith, and as well as it might take you one to like maybe 50 takes and you're like, oh my gosh, but on the
Yeah.
51st take you might be like, okay, this is it. So
Yeah.
give yourself that opportunity to like grow into it and show
Mhm.
some compassion to yourself for taking that leap of faith. And
Mhm.
I get it, we're our biggest critic, but at the same time we also have to be our biggest raving fan first as well and say, hey, like, cheers, we did it, we created a video, let's have the courage, let's post it out.
Mhm.
And we'll look back 6 months like, oh, what did I do?
I,
But at least I go through it all the time, but it's like, hey, like you still did it. And
yeah.
the people that resonate it, awesome. And the people that didn't, it's okay. You can kind of look at it and dissect it and then just keep improving upon. But click
Mhm.
record multiple times, try, get
Yeah.
into the habit of talking and you'll get to that place of flow state. Like it's like a conversation. Sometimes you got to warm into it.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
I know that I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I
good.
want to leave on this. I don't want to leave this thought unsaid. So I know
Mm-hmm.
earlier we mentioned we're gonna give some tools of AI. I definitely want to make sure that we're providing that value. So some
Right.
that came off the top of my head was Opus Clip AI is if you post long form like this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, you can drop the URL link, the YouTube link inside, and it'll actually cut it up, give you the option for how long the duration you want to be. You can customize the caption. So that's one tool. And there's also Adobe Podcast. So say your audio is a little choppy when you're recording, when you decided to record outside or something like that, you can throw it in there and you can fix it up. But I just wanted to at least make sure that I gave at least two tools there. Is there any that you would recommend to like?
I just started using Otter AI, and that's like I let it into all my Zoom meetings. So because I do strategy calls, a lot of times that's a 90-minute session where I'm like deep diving into people's brands, and like I'm doing two. I'm doing one tomorrow and one on Thursday, and it's a ton of research that goes in. So I need to be engaged. I can't be taking notes. So I have Otter AI, and it's a platform that will go into your Zoom meetings, or you can also just click record. Like I have an iPad, I record sometimes phone calls, and it will totally transcribe your entire meeting. It will also, if it's on Zoom, it will take screen grabs. So like when you share a screen, it will like take different screen grabs from that. So it will say like 51 seconds, it was this screen grab with these notes, and then it will also summarize and give you action steps. So like as you're talking, you're like, okay, like right now, us being like, all right, let's chop up this video, let's do this. It will say step one, chop up video. Then you need to, speaker one needs to do this. So it gives you a to-do list, it gives you a summary. It's pretty cool. So, and it's free.
So cool.
So
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure we kept giving value because that's what we're here to
yeah.
do. And
Okay.
I'm super excited. Is where can we reach out to you? And is there any upcoming projects or anything you want to share? If not,
Yeah.
reach out to Tessa directly, please.
Yeah, I'm always doing I'm always creating something, that's for sure. I have a content calendar is my next thing that should be out soon. I'm really excited for this one. It's exactly what we talked about being um there's so many different platforms to post on, and there's so much you could create, and it's overwhelming. And so I created a Notion dashboard that actually allows you to set up a flow for your content, and it just brain dump those ideas that you have as you're going on your walks, as you're just seeing things throughout your day. Dump them into those content pillars you create, and then once you create that content, you tag where it goes, and it's just organizes and funnels everything for you. So I'm working on that to sell soon. And you can follow me along on Instagram, is where I do almost 99% of my marketing. So it's the digital tea, the underscore digital underscore tea. Cause I'm always spilling that digital tea on the social media world. So that's what it is. But yeah, this has been
Awesome.
awesome. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your insights. And I can't wait for people to get value from this. And I think if there's one really big takeaway is start focusing on marketing, but there's
Mm-hmm.
so many tools and we're here to help you. Watch this podcast over, take notes, use that AI tool because it could help. And thank you so much. I really truly appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Definitely will. Also, I'm looking forward to that Notion. I definitely have to get it
Yeah.
myself.
Yep. I'm working on that. That should be out soon.
Awesome.
Great.
Take
Cool.
care.
Yep. Bye.